Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition. In these episodes, we tackle the issues that matter most to autistic people.
Each week, we share our insights and the experiences of our guests on how to live authentically and thrive as autistics.
I'm Dr. Angela Kingdon, the linguistic autistic.
And I'm Matt Lowry, licensed psychological practitioner. Let's dive into strategies for living your best, most authentically autistic life.
Episode 118, Aging and Executive Functioning. Hey, Angela.
Hey, Matt. What are we talking about today?
We've got something that... Okay, so we've got this Facebook group called Autistic Connections, where there's a lot of people who, like the podcast, a couple of random strangers who don't like podcasts at all.
Or us. Or
us.
Taylor Swift.
Or Taylor Swift. And this is the thing, because I really, really do love the group. I love the people who love the group, but it is fairly taxing to log into the group and have someone say, you know what I hate? The Autistic Culture Podcast. And I'm like, dude.
Okay, maybe don't be in our group.
This is my house. Please don't shit on the sofa. And,
right. And then we promptly show them the door.
Yeah.
Matt, I feel like there's two things I want to say about the group. One is, if people want to join, all they have to do is go to autisticculturepodcast.com, go to any of these episodes, go to the show notes. At the bottom of every episode description is a link to the group. We also get a question frequently that I don't know the answer to, but I make up an answer every time, which is...
Is it a different answer every time to the same question?
No, I think it's the same answer. I just don't believe it's correct.
Oh,
but
okay.
Maybe you can tell me the correct answer, which is some version of, I am not on Facebook anymore because Mark Zuckerberg is a narco-capitalist who's taking over our life, techno-fascist. Do you have a Discord?
We do, but I don't know how to use Discord.
That's my answer. That is my exact answer. I'm like, yes. I know Matt set one up. It may even be functioning, but I don't know how to use Discord.
Yes, it does exist, and there are periodic links to how to join it. But Sean is the guy who created it, and he does a lot of tech stuff for Trailhouse. And he created a very, very nice Discord. I just have no clue how to use it. So there's like 3 people who have sent me emails in the past week asking about it, because I have this list of resources and I send it to people. And I periodically update the link, but it periodically goes down, and I don't understand Discord enough to understand why that happens.
Me neither. We're on Facebook because because of aging and executive function.
Right, because I'm old, and I came in right after MySpace, but not before TikTok. So I'm also on TikTok, but I don't know how to use TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I don't know how to use Instagram.
And it's not like we like Facebook. It's just that we physically have capacity to answer people's questions there, as opposed to adding anything else or learning anything else.
Because it seems, because I'm also on Blue Sky. I carved out my niche on Blue Sky, but I don't know how to use that either. I just wanted to make sure no one else took my name. So and that's the thing. So life was so much easier back in the days when we used passenger pigeons to send messages. I don't know. Anyway, but that's the thing that brings us to this, because in the group, whenever I find interesting articles, research, or other notable things, I post it in this group, rather than making an organized spreadsheet of all the resources and all the research and everything ever, because I'm typically on Facebook in the middle of the night, because I wake up, I can't get back to sleep. I scroll Facebook for a little bit, post a meme, post research, and then go back to bed. And that requires very little executive functioning. And some of the things that I post in there include, appropriately enough to this episode and this conversation, how aging there is a research article came out a while back that says that there is an overlap of how aging and IQ affects a massive drop in executive functioning, because the older you get and the higher IQ you have, the more drastically your executive functioning is going to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
Today we are going to talk about a lot of reasons for that. We are going to talk about how you might be able to overcome that, and possibly another thing that I've forgotten, because executive functioning.
And a third thing, because all lists should be lists of 3 whenever possible.
Yes.
So there will be a third thing.
I don't know many things.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the
third thing will be about donuts. I don't know yet.
And donuts. I was going to say, I have a third thing that I wanted to bring into this conversation, because I've been meaning to do an episode on it. And if we have time, we'll get to it today, which is menopause, which is related to aging, but has so many fun twists.
That is, we'll make that the third thing, because that is also a very requested topic, because I don't have those parts, so it doesn't affect me. But I hear that other people do, and you might be able to offer some insight onto that.
Yes, indeed.
So we'll do that. So first of all, let's talk about what they mean by executive functioning, because executive functioning is a term given to a set of daily living, existing in the world sort of skills, like the ability to get up and put on your clothes and take a shower, cook some food, do your job, all this higher level sort of task taken care of. And when you're a kid, life is relatively easy. And this is a big thing about the whole autism thing, because, for instance, like if you go in for an autism assessment, they will, neurotypicals love IQ tests, and they really love functional tests like the Vineland. And neurotypicals believe that if you have a high IQ and low scores on the Vineland is a test that is given to caretakers or other people in your life, not you, because why would you be able to answer your own questions? Silly you. So they ask other people, how well is this person able to handle all of these things? And it's got like maybe 200 or 300 questions in there, right? So they look at your IQ and they look at your functional ability, and that gap is what neurotypicals typically look at in order to diagnose autism. They don't look at interoception, they don't look at sensory stuff, they don't look at anything that actually makes us who we are. They look at this gap between potential and actual, right? So autistic people, when we're little kids, we typically don't have a lot of demands on us. You might have a demand of, here, eat your food. No. You might have a demand of put on clothes so you can go outside. No. You might have a demand of go to school, do homework, do chores, whatever. And
put your phone down, don't watch TV. Yeah.
Those might be difficult, but again, they're not like life destroying. If you don't
pay your bills, get a job, have a car, don't crash it, pay for gas, don't get it towed, don't get tickets from speeding cameras that are designed to catch you. That stuff.
Yeah. So as we get older, especially as we take these leaps from like strata to strata, from step, we call it scaffolding, from one layer to another. When you go from home to elementary school, middle school to high school to post-high school, whether that's, job training or college, or I don't know, wandering the desert for 7 years, who knows? But each time we take a giant step like that, we we encounter this thing where much more is asked of us and we are required to do much more than previously.
Yeah, and it's like exponential because
Yes.
they layer. Like I remember when I first got out of college, I had an apartment and I had rent.
Yeah.
And then I also had to figure out how to set up my utilities and pay them. And there were probably 3, and I had 2 credit cards. I remember having an American Express and a Masters and a MasterCard. And that was basically what I had to manage. Was like rent. My car was paid up. My parents gave me one of their old cars. So I had a car that was paid off. I had 2 credit cards, but one I didn't use. I think I had 3 utilities. The internet didn't exist. That wasn't one of them. So it was like, I don't know, gas, electric, and cable.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then it feels like now there are probably 500 things like that. Like I'm a mom, there's school, there's alumni associate, there's I have all of the executive functioning for him. And then some of my executive functioning is not making it look like I'm executive functioning for my kids. So, and then there's so many more people and so many more bills and international moves and travel and checkout at CVS. Yeah. Like there used to be people who would check me out at CVS, but now I have to know. I'm so terrible at self-checkout machine. And now I'm trained in that. I'm trained at checking myself in at the doctor's appointment. People used to do that. They would say hello and check me in. Now I have to do the paperwork.
Kiosks. Yeah.
I have to do so much more. And I have like 17 administrative jobs that I never even was trained for. Yeah. And none of the other, I still have my rent, those 2 credit cards, and my electricity, gas, and cable bill. But now my cable bill is 16 cable bills because I have Amazon Prime and Disney Plus, and then I have Sky Streaming and Netflix, and we used to just have one bill. And sometimes they come to my phone, and sometimes they come to my credrit card.
Yep.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
you may be triggered. I may be triggered.
This is the reason why with the upcoming autism symposium, I was like, but I have needs. I can't do all of this executive functioning because I have to do in this time. I also have to get all my CEUs so that I can, keep my business going and submit a re up for my license. I have to do taxes. I have to take care of my son. I have to keep unpacking. I have to do all of this stuff, and without accommodations and assistance, I can't do that. And they're like, yeah, you can.
Nope.
And I'm like, no. And this is why again, there's a marked discrepancy in a diagnostic assessment for boys and girls, because girls are taught from a very early age to blend in, to mask. But when you get older and you have the kids and you have the house and you have the bills and you have the job responsibilities, that's when the executive functioning falls. That's when the masking falls. That's when burnout happens.
Right.
When our executive functioning is overtasked, we will have burnout. And our executive functioning to outsiders is just, why don't you do the thing? You should do the thing, but I can't do the thing. You should do the thing. You should get a calendar and put the thing in the calendar. Get a reminder and put the thing.
Oh my God.
Post-it note.
I have to tell you a story about this. So I am doing a TED Talk, and part of the TED Talk is you have to memorize the TED Talk. And I've given lots of speeches. I'm very comfortable giving speeches, but it's a very strict timeline. They sat us down and they're like, do not sign up for this if you don't agree to memorize it. You need to give us the speech. It cannot change from the speech. The words must be identical. You must memorize it.
And this is why I shall never do a TED Talk. Go on.
So I've been trying to memorize it, and I used to be good at memorizing, but it won't stick. It won't stay. I don't know why. It just won't go in. And so there's like a shared, it's not a Facebook group, it's a WhatsApp group, but there's a shared group. And so I share in the group, hey, I might need to back out. Like I respect that I need to have this memorized, and it's not going in, and we're a week away, and I don't know what the or else is, but is it possible to have a teleprompter? I will pay for it, and I will find it.
If it needs to be scripted, Give me a way to script.
I do not believe I am capable of this. There's 10 days left, and I know myself. I know how much time is on the calendar. I am happy to pay for my own accommodation because I would like to do this. So it's nice if other people pay for accommodations, but like I signed something and said I would memorize it. And so I'm like, I'm not doing the thing I promised to do. I thought I could. I have in the past. It's not happening.
Right.
What are my options? I am happy to pay, and I'm happy to also drop out because I don't want to ruin your event, and you've made the instructions clear.
Yeah.
And so everyone jumped in with advice. And the advice was, the first piece of advice I got was stop trying to memorize it. Just take a couple days off, stop trying. And I was like, okay, great piece of advice. The next person said, have you tried breaking it up into small chunks? Yes, I have, because I'm not stupid and I understand how to memorize things. And then the next person was like, have you tried giving each section a mnemonic? And I was like, yes, I have, because I'm not stupid and I know how to memorize things. Thank you very much. And the next person was like, have you tried color coding your sections? And I was like, yep. Here are all the things I've done. Here's an exhaustive list. I've spent 200 hours. I have made a video of this 15 times. I listened to the recording 10 times a day, have it broken up into, like, here are all the things I've done. If you have suggestions other than these, I can't imagine you do, but please give them to me. And then 3 different people jump in with having a positive attitude.
Oh, Jesus.
And one lady says, I have a technique for processing your emotions I would love to run through with you. It's helped me so much with my speech. And I was like, oh, very interesting. What sorts of emotions? And she was like, fear of not being successful. And I was like, that's so interesting. No fear is coming up I'm not having any fear.
Right. I know this shit, but I can't say it in a script the same way every time.
And she was, I'm like, this sounds like a weird gaslighty new age, like somehow make a wish and it'll happen thing. She's like, no, it's a process called letting go. Yeah. She wanted me to do some fucking hypnosis bullshit. I'm like, this is not hypnosis. I understand my capacity. And then somebody else was like, listen, 500 people applied for this. There is no way you would have been picked if you aren't worthy. You are worth it. You should say to yourself every time you sit down to memorize, you are worthy. I'm like, no, listen,
because
I am worthy.
Worthiness is the issue here.
I'm like, listen, I am worthy. I have no self-esteem issue. This is what gaslighting looks like, you guys.
Right.
I got to tell you, I just need an accommodation. It's a teleprompter. I am happy to pay for it. And then the guy who's running it is like, hey, we can't do a teleprompter, but let me get on a call with you. We'll brainstorm. This is pages and pages and pages of comments, hours and hours of comments. We get on a call and he's like, tell me the situation. So I say everything, which he clearly hasn't read, waiting for his gaslighting. And he's like, are you trying to memorize every word?
Oh, so it's a literal versus neurotypical. Yeah.
He's like, oh, it doesn't have to be memorized word for word. We just want you to memorize it. And I'm like, wow.
So he wants you to memorize, but not memorize.
Right. He's like, you should know.
Shame on you.
You should know the speech really well, but it doesn't need to be memorized. I'm like, what percentage, if you were to hold the script, because you said it had to match with the script.
Right.
What percentage of changes would you expect? He's like, like 70, 80%. My friend, that is not memorizing.
No.
I'm like, so when actors are in a movie and they're given a script, they have to memorize the script in order to make the movie. Or if you're in a play, he's like, yeah, but this isn't a play or a movie.
But he wants you to have a script and memorize the script, but not memorize the script because you don't have a script.
And also, why didn't you tell me that when I'm telling you all the accommodation I make? He was one of the people telling me to have a positive fucking attitude. I'm like, how about if you read all the things I wrote that included my definition of memorize, which is basically to remember from memory? Well, I'm like, so, okay.
And this is the big difference between us and them, because neurotypicals have a very shallow view of what executive functioning means. But when I do assessments, we break these down into stuff. For instance, like with our bottom up processing, we look at way more data. You look at this, you say, I hear these words, I'm taking these words literally because they are the words that you said. And unless the words have changed meaning, I will do the thing that you say, which is difficult. And they say, oh, no, don't do the thing that I say because that's difficult. Then why didn't you use different words?
But we're just supposed to know. So, yes, I think some percentage of my executive functioning is that I do things to the letter, or I don't do them. But if I'm going to sign up to do it, I'm going to do it probably in a way that's more taxing than people who I guess just say they're going to do it and do something else that they would rather do.
This again, our executive functioning, that's two parts of our executive functioning. One is expectation sensitivity, because you want to know exactly what you have to do when you have to do it. They don't. They're okay with just whatever happens.
Oh, shit. I didn't think of that. Of course.
Yeah, because you want to make sure everything goes ahead of time, because you plan it out in your head. You're visualizing this ahead of time. You go over the routine over and over and over again. You say, I'm going to land on my plane, and my plane's going to go here. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then you schedule out literally everything in your brain, which takes a lot of executive functioning. And then you also have what we call process complexity, where you are breaking everything down into minutia so you can take care of the minutia to make sure that everything works as planned, as you do it in your head. And neurotypicals don't do these things.
Wow, that must be great.
Yeah, and this is a big reason why neurotypicals don't experience the executive functioning drop off that we do, because we are infinitely more complex. But we'll talk more about executive functioning, because we have gone into break territory. But we'll come back with more aspects of executive functioning and why they change as we get older, after this message from somebody that we like and trust.
Might be us. Have you ever wanted to know officially if you're autistic, but you don't want to deal with all the medical gatekeeping?
Adult Autism Home Assessment, or as I call it, AHA, gives you a clear, autism-affirming, autistic-approved way to self-identify without the inconvenience of dealing with neurotypical, quote-unquote, professionals.
You can find out all about our book and get a free copy when you become a monthly, annual, or Autistic Guardian subscriber of the Autistic Culture Podcast. To find out more, just go to autisticculturepodcast.com/subscribe.
So we are back, and we are talking about what we call executive functioning and how it changes as you get older. And Angela has basically broken down some bottom-up processing, which is a thing that we do when we look at all the data, which results in expectation sensitivity, because we want to know exactly what everything is going to be, how it's going to be, where it's going to be, how we're going to do it, everything. And process complexity, because, again, we break so many things down in so many steps. And for instance, like with process complexity, my son, if I say, hey, can you go clean your room? He will go into his room and stand there and have zero idea where to begin, because do I begin here? Do I begin here? Do I begin here? So he just freezes. And that is what we call autistic inertia.
Inertia, yes.
Because a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays in rest.
I know
and
this.
It is clinically proven that the only way out of the autistic inertia is to have body doubling, to have someone else there to offer either physical, mental, emotional support. And I will be like, okay, so we're going to start off and we're going to put the electric towers over here on this shelf. And he's like, okay, that's a thing I can do.
That's a thing I can do. Yes.
Yeah. But if you give a vague thing like clean your room, how do we break this down? What's the process complexity? Where do I start? How do I do this?
Also, what is clean?
Exactly.
Are we scrubbing? Am I like painting the floorboard? Like what?
Exactly.
How far are we going to go today? Are we just like decluttering? I need much more direction.
Exactly. And that's the thing about like, that's the thing about adulthood, because adults are like, pay your taxes. But again, if you do it through paper, if you do it online, rich people have people to do it for them so that they don't have to pay any taxes at all. Poor people have to pay a lot of taxes because we do everything. And like, what about your deductions? And like, well, I don't know if I could count that as a deduction because I used it for work, but I really needed it. So, we are very, again, that's another thing about autistic people. We tend to be exceedingly honest and direct, which neurotypicals see as quote unquote a rigid moral a rigid moral failing that keeps us from succeeding. Well, I'll include the link.
It's the one where the experiment where we wouldn't lie, right?
Right. Well, we wouldn't cheat on a card game.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And the neurotypicals were much more successful at making money than us because we refused to cheat. And they framed it as our problem. And that's the thing, because as we get older, we are required to do more and more and more of this stuff that other people loosely define, like memorize your TED Talk and say it exactly and don't deviate, except for where you want to deviate, because don't memorize it.
Right.
And it doesn't make any damn sense.
And there was this big event where we were told how important it was. He's like, this is very important. And I was like, oh, stop. I'm told it's important. Stop everything and pay attention. And he's like, you don't want to miss this. And I was like, okay. And then I'm sure I filled in a bunch of blanks on what was required for me. But then also, I feel like what I'm always doing is playing things out 4 or 5 different ways.
Expectation sensitivity and process complexity.
Right. So I'm like, okay, if it doesn't have to be memorized, I'll do this. If it does have to be memorized, I'll do this. If I have a cue cards, I'll do this. If I have an actual teleprompter, I'll do this.
Yeah.
And then like my sister's coming from the US to see me. And she's like, I know you're on at 4:00. The event starts at noon. And she's like, so we're just going to get there at 3. And I'm like, right. But what if it starts at noon? What if somebody gets sick and I end up going earlier, or they give me that option and now I can't go earlier because I would rather go earlier. I would enjoy the rest of the day. But since you won't be there while I'm there, I'm going to be worried if you're getting there.
Yeah.
And
because you got to cover. And this is why the studies show that we process 40%, 42% more information at rest than neurotypicals, because we are constantly churning through all of this data, trying to make sense of the chaos. And that is and again, keep in mind, that's at rest. That's not when we're on. When we're on, there's no telling, because again, that's not part of the studies, because they don't say, hey, plan out your day for us and watch the scale go to 11.
Right.
Oh, fun fact. There is an article out, and again, I post all this stuff in Autistic Connections with a search function because I don't have the executive functioning to put it all in a folder. It turns out that autistic brains and ADHD brains utilize glucose differently than neurotypical brains, because we need that fast energy for neural processing. So it turns out that, again, coffee or sodas are self-medicating for ADHD people because you need the stimulant in order to pay attention. But it turns out that high sugar might also be self-medicating in order to keep your brain functioning at optimal level, so your body doesn't have to process other stuff into glucose to keep your brain going.
Wow, so, that makes so much sense.
Yeah. And again, these are the things that nobody studies, because again, neurotypicals think that autism is a childhood disorder of eye contact or some shit. They don't see how this affects us over the long term.
Right.
And while we're on that, they also don't affect, the monotropism, because, we have the monotropic focus. If it's something that we love, we'll do it all the way. If it's something that we don't love, well, you can't force us to do it, which leads into PDA, which we call persistent drive for autonomy. And we say that the neurotypicals have a pathological demand compliance, where neurotypicals will do whatever is told to them, whether or not they're actually able to do it, whatever. We have to do things our own way, because, again, if people tell you, have you tried having a positive attitude? And you're like, okay, fuck you, buddy. Oh, well, you're very difficult.
Right.
That's very PDA of you.
Everyone was mad at me for not wanting to have a positive attitude. I'm like, my attitude is very fucking positive, assholes, which they did not feel like was positive.
No kidding. Yeah. And this is the thing. So all of these things contribute, all of these extra things, which is why I am, we talked in the Academia is Ableist episode about how all of these demands are placed upon us. And it's very, very difficult to find an autistic person who does like what I do. But that's the thing. I don't do the things that other neurotypical people do, because, like, neurotypical people will say, you should come into an office and wear a tie and do this and do this and do this. I can't do that. I literally can't. I sit here and I do telehealth on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then I crash hard afterwards. On Wednesdays, I usually do an evaluation. My way, not a neurotypical way. I don't do IQ testing. I can, but again, if somebody's coming in for autism, IQ doesn't have any effect on that. I don't do aptitude testing. I can do a Vineland. I just choose not to. We do the PAI and a modified ADOS and all kinds of neat stuff, and an extensive clinical interview. A lot of which finds its way into our AHA book. That we may have just advertised a while back. So if you skip over the ads, go back and listen to the ad, and here we are. And anyway, I found a way to, and of course Thursday is podcast day and Friday is off. I might make time for somebody if they really need it, but it's a crash day for me.
If you had to, because I know you worked in community health on site for many years.
Yeah.
If tomorrow you woke up and you had to go back to going into community health and going into the office and seeing those same people and having a neurotypical, not just boss, but hierarchical structure and annual reports with SMART goals that you have to write to please your neurotypical overlords.
Yeah.
How long you got? How long could you do it? How many days?
So this is an added thing, because in order to meet neurotypical demands, it requires that we mask heavily, because neurotypicals do not like the way that we do things. There's lots of studies that show snap judgments, and I had to mask extensively when I was in that setting. And I honestly don't think I could last a week. That I know.
I'm like 3 days, maybe 3 days.
Yeah.
If they were like, we are going to shoot you if you don't go to the, I still think 3 days.
Yeah.
I don't. And also, like, what is the purpose of it's like,
yeah. Well, and this is the thing. This is the thing,
hard.
Because we live in a culture that prioritizes productivity. And your worth as a person is judged by how productive you are for your corporate overlords. You're supposed to work nonstop 40 plus hours a week for 65 years and then die. And if you die early, they will just replace you within a week.
Yeah.
Your worth is not judged by
That's
how
the weird
well.
thing. I like when I was, I think, unmasking. Once you have unmasked, it makes it very hard to go back. But in my many years of being masked and also just ignorant that I was autistic, I was so exhausted, but I didn't even know it. It's like that frog being boiled. But once you've unmasked, to go back to it, and that's kind of that's kind of the booby prize in a way, because there are a lot of people that have to do this.
Yeah.
Because they haven't figured out. I mean, we're super lucky we get to do our jobs from home and we've like figured it out. But if you can't figure it out, having to do that for 40 hours or whatever a week, if you are exhausted from all that and all you can do is come home and go to sleep, like you're not crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah. I was with somebody for a while, and she is a fantastic professional in her profession. She is spot on. Everything at work is like at right angles. Everything is organized. She does a lot of really great work with everything that she does. But the second she came home, her body stopped working, and she just laid around with doom piles all over the place with TV going in the background. She could not physically move because she was so exhausted from all this. And I was like, have you considered accommodations? She got very angry with me. I was like, have you considered a lifestyle change? She got very angry with me.
Well, I'm imagining people listening to this feeling the same way. Like, what do you want me to do?
And this is the thing, because I was like, you're trying to maintain a lifestyle that is neurotypical expectations. You are not neurotypical. This is not working for you. And she got very mad and said that I was like saying that she's lazy, saying that she can't do things. I was like, no, there's too many expectations of you. You've got to cut something back. Mm-hmm. And she decided, the thing I should cut back is that guy who keeps telling me. So, yeah.
Right. So, well, I think it's hard for people to see, like, in the huge executive functioning load of having a job or just a life where you need to mask all day. Like you could be a stay-at-home parent and have to mask or choose or have to, depending on how you look at it, but be masking with the other parents on the playground. So it's not just a corporate job. That's just an example.
Or with your partner. Because there are a lot of autistic people that mask around their partner. And one of the most common things I find with couples, after a diagnosis and someone starts unmasking, the partner often says something like, I wish you would start masking again. Things are different now, and I don't like that. And that leads to a lot of strife among couples. And again, it was the opposite for me, because with this person, I was like, perhaps you should try unmasking. And she's like, but my family wants me to mask. I need to mask all the time.
They tell me I need to mask. It's such a radical shift. Like, you will, this is why I say it's a booby prize. Like, you will lose friends and family. You may need to get a different job. You may have to move. Becca Laurie Hector, in her book, Always Bring Your Sunglasses, talks about needing to leave New York City. Like, it just wasn't possible for her to manage her sensory sensitivities and stay in Manhattan.
Yeah. So and this is also a reason
so much.
This is also a reason why the unemployment rate for autistics is much higher than for neurotypicals. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean that you're lazy. It doesn't mean that you don't have intellectual functioning ability. It's just that you're working with a lot more system requirements. You can't play the game that other people play because your PC is maxed out with all these other system requirements and other people aren't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so if you're trying to get your head around that and feeling like, I just want to address this because I don't want people to feel judged by me and you because we're on the other side of the shift. I can tell you, people that I know who have made the unmasking journey have changed their lives. And they do not wake up the next morning and say, I'm unmasking. I'm going to tell all my friends and family. They are going to magically accept it. And then I will be unmasked. So when people are asking, like, how do I unmask? It's like, it's not a minute. You're not going to wake up and do it. You can't just watch an online video and in 15 minutes learn how to unmask. But the process of doing it, there is a path for you. It is findable. It might not be findable alone, and it almost certainly will not be findable quickly.
Yeah.
But that will change your relationship to executive functioning.
And this is the thing, because unmasking is not just painting the house. It's taking the house apart brick by brick and rebuilding a new house with the same bricks.
Right.
And you might leave out a few bricks. You might get a few new bricks. But you have to completely redo it. And this is we're going to talk more about, let's go ahead and take another break now, because we got a gigantic section ahead, especially with health and aging and all this other stuff. But let's go to a break with some very nice people who may or may not be us, and then we'll come back and talk more.
Cool.
Hey, clinicians. Are you looking for an affirming way to assess autism and ADHD that bridges the gap between self-identification and formal testing? NeuroPebble's diagnostic assessment training for master's level clinicians is here to help you confidently navigate assessments. This course prioritizes lived experience and understanding the nuances in the diversity of traits. You can even get 7 CEUs if you need them. Start today at bit.ly/neuropebble and take the first step towards transforming your practice. At NeuroPebble, every idea is a pebble that paves the path to a more neurodivergent affirming world. Go to bit.ly/neuropebble to learn more.
We are back, and we've been talking a lot about what executive functioning means, how your needs change as you get older. But one thing that we haven't talked about is the relationship between this and autistic body health. Because if you take nothing else away from this episode, I want you to remember that across the lifespan, the probability of being disabled is 100%.
Well, hopefully
100%.
I mean, I guess unless you get hit by a bus at 21, you're probably going to skip it. But if all goes well, you will become disabled.
Every human meat body falls apart, and we must remember that. And it's a different rate for different people depending on their needs. But we also have a higher tendency for Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, POTS, fibromyalgia, PMDD, PCOS, endometriosis. Let's see here.
All the IBS stuff. All the GI related things.
Yes. And again, I recently had to have my eye resurfaced because I didn't know that chronic dry eye is a common thing for autistic people, and it can lead to a thing called Saltzman's, where your eye just doesn't produce enough tears to flush out dirt and pollen, and your eye grows over the dirt and pollen and results in a bumpy eye. And I had to have a laser blast a layer of eyeball off, and now I'm healing, and then I have to have it done for the other eye once I'm sure that I'm not blind.
Unlike, I don't like that.
There's so many, and again, I'm pretty sure that I have POTS. I'm coming to terms with the fact that coffee may be a self-medication for undiagnosed ADHD. There's all sorts of things that as you get older, you are going to learn about yourself. And okay, so there's another thing that we need to study more. We're going to be looking at this at Trailhouse, but stress results in cortisol surges. And the more you have cortisol, the less your body responds to the cortisol, because that's how the body works. Cortisol is good in like very short, small bursts for running away from a bear.
I was going to say a bear is chasing you, bring on the cortisol.
Yeah, it helps it stops your digestion, it makes your heart beat faster, it increases your acuity so you can escape the bear. But if you're feeling like you're running away from a bear for 40 years every single day, your body's going to fall apart. And this leads to what we call epigenetic changes, where the tips of your DNA, the telomeres, get dissolved. And then all of a sudden, a lot of stuff that's hidden in your DNA gets exposed. And this might be why POTS and EDS and mast cell and all this other stuff is associated with us. Or it could be a one-to-one genetic link. We don't know yet. We need to study this way, 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 way more. So there's a very high likelihood that as a kid, you could run and fall over and heal very quickly. But as you get older, you can't do that. As you get older, you find that you have a lot of food sensitivities. You find that different sensory things destroy you. You learn misophonia, where you can't listen to noises, that you can't handle certain clothes, that you can't handle this. And again, this is a big reason why I live a very restricted life, because this allows me to do the work that I do. Because if I had to do the neurotypical grind, I would die.
Right.
And this is a big thing for autistic people. None of these things are known by neurotypical people. They just look at you and say, you're laying in bed all day. You are lazy.
Right. You're lazy.
Instead of you're doing your damn best to hold yourself together. And this can start in childhood. Teenagers may look like they're being lazy or defiant, but they just can't do it because there's factors in play that are not being addressed.
Yeah, and like one of my things was I really struggled with brushing my hair. Yeah. Obviously, if you watch the videos, I have very short hair. I always wanted long hair, but my hair would grow into, my mom would call it my rat's nest. There was just like a ball of hair at the back of my head, and brushing it, untangling the knot of hair was so painful, and I would end up with a migraine, and I wouldn't want to go to school, and I wouldn't want to do anything because it hurt so much that I just would put it off and put it off and put it off until it was really bad. Sometimes it was so bad my mom would just like take me to the barber and have them shave off all my hair and give me like a short haircut. And then people always called me a boy. Like I always got misgendered as a boy. And then people would also insist I was a boy. Like it didn't matter. Like I would tell them, and they would be like, but you're a little boy. And so then I had all those issues, but also, so it wasn't that I was lazy. It was obviously that it was very painful, and I didn't want short hair, and I didn't want to be called a boy, but I also didn't want to brush my hair. And so then there's trauma and I don't know, the seeds of chronic PTSD, all of that over this little misunderstood thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, because CPTSD is different from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because PTSD is a big event like war or murder or rape or something like that. Complex CPTSD is a bunch of stuff that happens all the damn time throughout your life. And every single one of these incidents adds up. Again, it's like having little bits of dust in your eye that results in a bumpy eyeball that needs to be lasered, but we can't laser our soul to get back to where we were.
Right.
And this is a big thing for us.
Yeah. So there's first of all, how much, I think we all have trauma. I'm probably talking about even more than autistic people. Like, I think trauma is pretty common. We all survived COVID.
That's the thing, because neurotypicals can't tell what's CPTSD and what's autism, because so many autistic people have CPTSD. It's believed that no autistic person gets through life untraumatized, and nobody knows what a healthy autistic adult looks like because of all the trauma.
Right. That's why we need to have children raised in the woods or something far away from humanity.
In Autistica, away from the bullshit.
Tarzan. Maybe he's one of us. We don't know. But what I was going to say is, like, if you're masking all the time in your relationship or at work or in your parenting role or all three, if you are already processing more information and doing process complexity and expectation sensitivity with executive dysfunction, if you're already doing this, and then I'm going to talk about the ladies for a second, and then you hit menopause, and all those balls that you have been able to juggle, all of a sudden you add, for me, it was one more ball called hot flashes.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal. And for other people, it could be brain
say that
fog.
Phrase again.
It could be
say that phrase again, because that's very, very important.
Doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal.
Right. That should be a phrase that everyone here knows by heart. Because go on.
When I got my first hot flash, I first of all immediately felt bad for all the things I had thought about my mother, because we used to make fun of my mom when she had a hot flash. She'd be like, "Is anyone else hot?" And we would all laugh hysterically because she would say that all the time. It is a hot flash, which in England they call a hot flush. Neither of these names are good. Is not just like an inconvenience of being warm. It literally feels like your body is on fire from the inside and you're going to die. And it only lasts like a minute. But for that minute, you're like, this is how it ends. Oh, this is how it ends right here in this chair. This is how it ends.
So you should have a term more closely related to boiling blood than the bathroom at Chipotle.
Correct. So it is like momentary death. It is like so bad. And then it's happening over and over again. And you're just supposed to be doing all those things you could be doing before. So if you were masking, luckily I wasn't when menopause hit. But let's say you're driving the kids around. You're pretending to the swim team moms that you're happy to count laps. You're running a fundraiser that has a silent auction. Plus you're going to work. You're doing all these things and you're masking, and it's worked. But now you've got brain fog and you've got weird hormone things happening and you've got a hot flash, and all of a sudden maybe you have been able to avoid meltdowns or shutdowns, but you are in complete shutdown, autistic inertia, taken to your bed, and you're like, I'm taking to my bed with menopause? That doesn't seem overloaded. Reasonable. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the boy version of this, but I can tell you menopause and autism, because of aging and executive functioning, the compounding issues, and especially if you're still living a mostly masked life that is pleasing our neurotypical overlords, and you crash hard at menopause, you are not the only one, because that is very common.
And you know what makes everything worse? Because again, in the Venn diagram of autism and executive functioning, you also have intelligence.
Oh.
And the thing about it is that autistic people are 8 times more likely to be gifted than allistic people. Don't forget, neurotypical people by definition cannot be gifted, because gifted is a form of neurodivergence. Neurotypical people have to have average IQs. An allistic person who is not autistic can be gifted, but neurotypical people cannot be gifted. But again, autistic people, due to our hyperconnected neurology, are 8 times more likely to be gifted than allistics. So this means that you are acutely aware of everything happening and beating yourself up because you can't do the thing that you know you should be able to do.
Shouldn't be a big deal.
It shouldn't be a big deal, because the shoulds will fucking crush you. And this is where the overlap between aging and executive functioning and IQ comes into play, because people who have intellectual deficits have difficulty doing stuff from the get-go, and that remains fairly consistent throughout life, because they need a lot of support in the beginning and in the middle and at the end. Not a lot changes. People who have a high intellectual functioning, in the beginning, they're like, I read 18 books today. I feel great. I did this. I feel great. I did this. I feel great. But as you stack on all of these requirements, as you add process complexity, if you add task after task after task that always need your attention, and then your meat body starts to fall apart, and then your executive functioning falls apart, and then you start beating yourself up, and then you find yourself just kind of staring into the void, laying in bed for days at a time. It's because of all of this. And there is no shame. Well, you will feel shame.
Yeah, there is shame.
You will beat yourself up, and that does not help things. Beating yourself up does not fix the problem.
No. And also, even that seems like it should, because...
Have you tried having a positive attitude?
See, you knew right where I was going to go, because I know if I tell people what my problem is, they're going to tell me to have a positive attitude. So I'm like, all right, let me figure out how to do this, because I know that's the right thing to do, and just smile and not acknowledge.
Yeah. And this is the thing, because just like autistic inertia requires body doubling, we need support. Human beings were not built to live isolated lives, even though a lot of autistic people do live isolated lives because of a lot of rejection experience throughout life. Because after you're rejected and rejected and rejected, fuck it, I'll just be alone.
Right.
But we absolutely need people. I needed someone to drive me to and from the optometrist to get my eye lasered out. We need people at our medical appointments to advocate for us. We need people to sit with us when we are sad. We might need somebody to cook for us when our executive functioning says, I'll just eat a spoonful of peanut butter today because that's all I can fucking do.
It's protein.
And this is a big thing with my ex, because I was like, hey, I can help you. But she internalized that as, I am not good enough to do things myself, and this person wants to do things. So that was, I became the bad guy.
There are mixed messages from the world, for most of the world. So, I think this is another good thing to drill down on, is when we say the world wasn't designed for us, or from a world that doesn't want us, this is precisely what we mean. Like, this is a very good example of the world thinking you should pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that you should, just go ahead and make dinner every night, no matter what else is going on. And it should be Foursquare. What are we supposed to have? Meat, potatoes, the pyramid, food pyramid, happy, whatever. I don't know. I don't do that. But, but it's
I ate a pile of fish sticks last night.
Things? Great job.
Yeah.
I might have done the same.
Better fed than dead.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is the world that's hostile. I even noticed one of the big shifts I made as I unmasked is people would often ask me for advice about writing books.
Yeah.
And I would say, okay, the first thing you have to do is you have to start with a purpose statement for your book. What is the book about? How do you want your reader to be different? And this is true. I mean, I've done a lot of books. That is what you have to do.
It's about 240 pages.
Right. See there? However, what I switched to was, the way that I do it is I start with a purpose statement for my book. And from there, I build an outline. You might want to see if that works for you.
Yeah.
As opposed to, this is the way to do it. And I have no idea why or how I learned the way you teach people is by telling them this is the way to do it, because it assumes everyone does it the same way.
It's as though you've been listening to the catchphrase that I keep repeating. Go on.
Which catchphrase? Oh, this is the way. Ha!
Yeah.
Yes, but in teaching, like my very autistic dad had a way that he taught us to wash cars that he was very specific about, which is you had to go top down so that nothing would drip.
Top down processing.
Yeah. And also when you swept the floor, he would say, I only want you to sweep the edges. The middle will take care of itself. Just
That's interesting.
Sweep everything into the middle. Everyone focuses on the middle and they miss all the edges.
Yeah.
Yes. So I thought, like, okay, there's a right and wrong way to do things. And when we teach people, we must teach them the right way.
Yeah.
But that to me led to, in a lot of ways, my burnout, the idea that there would be a right way. Because very often the right way is the neurotypical way. It's like that book, Atomic Habits, that we did the Productivity is Autistic episode on.
Yeah.
Like, there's your way, and this book or suggestion or coach or whatever might help you find your way, but there is not a right way that you can just grab and take.
And this is a big thing for us, because we all will experience this at some point, and it doesn't make us failures. Because if we don't know the right way, if the neurotypical way doesn't work for us, after my son was born, my son spent a lot of time in the NICU. I got burned out a lot. I said, hey, I said to my ex, hey, I think that I need to go to therapy. And she said, why? You're a therapist. If you can't fix yourself, you must not be a good therapist.
Interesting.
And that beat me up a lot because, again, I was already dealing with the whole, I should be able to help my family. I should be able to help my son. I should be able to do this. I should be able to do this. And the avalanche of the shoulds crushed me. And that didn't take into account that I was doing things in ways that worked for other people. And I needed to find a way to do things that worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
And we all have to find our own path. You can go to a therapist. You can go to a psychiatrist. You can go to a friend. You can go to a priest. You can go to the guy who stands on the street who seems to be pretty knowledgeable, but also deals meth. Who knows? It's go. You have to find the answers wherever you can find them. But keep in mind that nobody has all of the right answers, and you have to figure out the life that works best for you. It's good to run it by people, like a therapist, but in the end, your life is your life. You're the only one who truly understands the life that you live, and you need to give yourself the freedom to do things in unconventional ways because you're accommodating yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And this self-advocacy is essential. You need to bring your sunglasses, like Becca Laurie Hector says.
Yeah. And you have to constantly reevaluate. So like for me, one of the first things I cut out was grocery stores. Something about the lights, the amount of choice. I'm in paralysis. When I go to the grocery store, I'm there for like 3 or 4 hours and I buy everything. Like it doesn't even fit in my house. I was not made for grocery stores.
Yeah.
Very bad. And
blaring music, announcements, that damnable Walmart tune.
God, yeah, all of that. And then the self-checkout, which was over the edge for me. Anyway, luckily, the wide world of home delivered groceries came to me, and I appreciate that. And that is how I did my shopping for a long time. But I realized my husband does all the cooking. And the food in the UK is a little different. And so I couldn't just order all my brands. I had to try things.
My brand.
It was very upset. I do order a lot of things from the US that are important that they be mine. But even just for like relationship purposes, I knew that going to the grocery store together once a week and doing meal planning together was really important to my husband.
Yeah.
And I knew it would take a lot of my spoons to do it.
Yeah.
So I had to do
literally and metaphorically.
So I had to do relationship calculus of saying, what will that bring? What will I lose? Is it worth these spoons? And originally my plan was to do it for my first 90 days here. And so I incorporated it into like my move plan to get to know brands.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is it makes me so much closer to my husband because I know what all the meals are that he's cooking because he does all the cooking. And so I know it's like a dumb topic, but I'll be like, oh, are you doing fish sticks tonight? Like, are you doing this thing? Because I know what we bought at the grocery store and what it looked like. And he has a lot of like expectation sensitivity around dinner. Like if we change a meal, that's really hard for him because he's got his head around whatever we were going to have. And being on that same page has given me spoons, that relationship connection. So then after doing that for 3 months, I was like, oh, I can go grocery shopping. Like this does actually give me more spoons than it takes. But that's quite a calculus.
Yeah.
Like you have to really know yourself to be able to do that kind of calculus. I mean, it's very worth it. But if you're not doing that, of course, your executive functioning is only going to be getting worse. Like it's going to be getting worse anyway, but it's going to be getting much worse.
Yeah. I must admit, I would love the chance to go grocery shopping in England because you all have real Cadbury eggs instead of Hershey Cadbury eggs. And I want some real Cadbury eggs. But
I will get you. I will make that happen for you. I wish I was going to see you in person, but I can get you some Cadbury eggs.
That would be fucking awesome because I've heard the legends of the true Cadbury eggs.
So
as
different.
opposed to the fake ones that we get, and I want to know what I'm missing, because I've had Mexican Coke, and Mexican Coke is significantly better than American Coke. I want to know true Cadbury eggs, because
just in general, the snacks in this country are superior. Chocolate, chips, crisps, as they call them, all of it, just definitely so much better.
That is awesome. And that's the thing. You got to get through it any way you can. And you got to make yourself a priority instead of just doing what everybody else says, no matter what. And this is the only way that you're going to survive. Get a good support system. For instance, someone who can send you Cadbury eggs. Get people who will be there for your medical appointments. Get people who will be there when you're down. Get people who will be there to listen to your info dumps or cook with you. And find people that, will help you get through menopause and all the weird stuff that happens with life. Find weird old people to be weird and old with.
Yeah. And I will say, if you haven't started that unmasking journey, give yourself a lot of patience, but you're probably going to want to think about doing it. It will make things harder in the short run, but much better in the long run.
Yes, very much so. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
But
I have a non sequitur thing I wanted to share with you, though, before.
Tangential? Really?
Tangential. It is tangential. But I don't think I told you about this on air. I think I've only told you about this off air. So I wanted to share it with you while people are listening. Julie Kazik, she is one of our listeners, and her son released a new app to the App Store. It is a spelling app. So Julie, one of her sons is non-speaking. And his brother made an app to help communicate with his brother. So it's called Spell R Board. So SPELL, the letter R, BOARD.
Yeah.
There's a demo on the website if you go to spellerboard.com. And this is what blew me away. I had no idea, but you knew about this. So this app it goes in alphabetical order.
Yeah, because the QWERTY keyboard was designed for an antiquated machine that got stuck a lot.
Right. So I guess the all the little typewriter legs, when you would just type really fast, the typewriter legs would get all stuck in one place, and then you had to reset the typewriter. So they made the keyboard hard.
Yeah.
So that it would slow down your typing.
So A and E would not get stuck together like that.
That's ridiculous. So anyway, then people are making speller boards, or if you just pull up on your phone the keyboard, it's going to be in that QWERTY keyboard style, which makes it a lot harder for non-speaking people to communicate with their brothers about, let's say, their special interests or what they want to do right now. And so now Julie's kids can communicate, and luckily so can you. If you love a non-speaking autistic person, go to Spell Our Board, get the app, and enjoy.
That is awesome.
That's what I wanted to share with you. So somebody's executive functioning, but it's not me. I will not be making you an app. I am very impressed that Julie's son was able to crank that out.
We outsource the executive functioning to the youngins who haven't been crushed by the world yet.
Exactly. That's what I got.
Sounds like a good plan. Everybody take care of yourselves, and we will see you on Tuesday for a culture episode.
Yeah, see you then.
Have a good one. Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition.
Be sure to tune in for our Autistic Culture episodes every Tuesday, where we celebrate autistic contributions to society, culture, and history.
For even more autistic culture, consider becoming a paid member for exclusive perks, like live Q&A calls with us, a virtual writing circle, and our new Self-Defined Living course by Becca Laurie Hector.
Fun fact, Matt, it actually costs us $8 for every minute that people see or hear on the podcast. But our member pricing is just $8 a month.
What a bargain!
What a bargain. Buy 1 minute and get 500 minutes for free. Seriously, if you can afford this, we really appreciate your contribution. It makes all this possible.
And of course, the best way everyone can support what we are doing is to rate, review, share, and subscribe on Substack or your favorite podcast app.
This is the way.